Almost 12 years after the beloved original, Space Marine 2 seems to be building upon everything that made Space Marine exciting, satisfying, and brutal. Here's everything you need to know about Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. Like we alluded to at the top, Space Marine 2 is a continuation of the 2011 game of the same name, and for a refresh on the events of that game, make sure to keep an eye out for our story recap video.
You have saved us.
Rise, Guardsmen. You saved yourselves.
The sequel takes place in the grimdark sci-fi universe of Warhammer 40,000, over 200 years after the events of the original game, and it sees the return of the first game's protagonist, Lieutenant Titus. This time around, instead of mainly slaughtering orcs and chaos, Titus will be helping the Imperium in a war against the Tyranid invasion that has taken over the planet of Kadaku, a jungle world infested with muddy forests and swamps. Don't worry though, you'll still get a chance to crush some chaos here too as you take the fight to the enigmatic Thousand Suns. Space Marine 2 is a third-person action game that blends long-ranged firefights with brutal melee combat. Coverless gunplay can be used to thin hordes or target enemies' weak points, but always be prepared to switch from ranged to melee combat, all of which is seamless and satisfying. New to Titus's fighting style is the ability to block and parry incoming attacks. Depending on the enemy and their strength, a perfect parry or dodge to one of these attacks will either instantly kill the foe, stun them, or allow you to retort with a gun strike. Executions are vital to the flow of combat, as each one will refill a portion of your armor. Previously, in the original Space Marine, executions would heal you, but this time around, health is returning through the use of consumable stims that must be found throughout the level, forcing you to be more mindful of your resources even as you charge into the fray. Adding to this, Titus can also now catch enemies in the air and slam them into the ground. Or, if you have the chainsword equipped, slice those enemies into two. During melee combat, you are now able to lock onto the larger enemies like Tyranid warriors, allowing you to focus your attacks and movements on the biggest threat instead of getting bogged down in the chaff. These enemies will also engage you much more intelligently, blocking your attacks or adding their own unblockable combos into the fray. This causes you to more carefully consider your next swing or back off a few feet to empty a magazine of bolt rounds into them. Some of the ranged weapons you can expect to see in Space Marine 2 include the bolter, the auto bolt rifle, the bolt carbine, the melt-a-gun, the heavy bolter, and the plasma incinerator. Melee consists of the combat knife and the chainsword, as well as the enormous thunderhammer, power fist, and more. There's also a jetpack in this game, and who doesn't love jetpacks? The campaign is playable solo or with 3-player co-op. When playing solo, the other roles are filled by AI, and in our hands-on preview of the game, Dave Jewett described the AI as more useful than he expected, and quote, "They seem effective in combat but also have their own abilities and can support in a pinch by picking you up off your feet should you get downed in combat." All three characters control exactly the same, aside from their ultimate-like fury abilities. And why 3-player co-op instead of 4? Well, Saber Interactive's brand and creative manager, Jan Francois, told PC Gamer that 4-player co-op simply made the game way too easy. Outside of Space Marine's main campaign is Operations. This is a 3-player PvE mode in which players will drop into a map and tackle a variety of objectives, from battling swarms of enemies to taking on bosses and mini-bosses. There will be 6 maps for Operations at launch, and if you want, the mode can be played solo. The other mode outside the campaign is the PvP multiplayer mode Eternal War. This mode features 6v6 battles across 3 different match types, pitting loyalist Space Marine chapters against the forces of the Chaos Traitor Legions. Annihilation is basically a team deathmatch. Seize Ground has teams working to capture 3 different points on the map, similar to Call of Duty's Domination mode. Then there's Capture and Control, Space Marine 2's take on the classic King of the Hill mode. At launch, there will be 6 playable classes, all with their own arsenal of weapons and unique perks. This includes Assault, Tactical, Heavy, Vanguard, Bulwark, and Sniper. Whether you're playing the campaign, Operations, or Eternal War, you'll be making the decision and deploying out to the battlefield via the Battle Barge. This hub features the Armoring Hall that lets you customize your weapons, armor, and equipment. You'll also find trials here that can be completed for rewards. Space Marine 2 is being developed by Saber Interactive and published by Focus Entertainment. It was announced with a cinematic trailer at the 2021 Game Awards, followed by a gameplay reveal at the show in 2022. A release window of winter 2023 was announced during Summer Game Fest 2023 before the game was delayed into 2024. The game was built on Saber's proprietary Swarm engine, which was originally developed for the large hordes of zombies in 2019's World War Z. Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2 will be released on September 9, 2024 for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC via Steam and the Epic Games Store. There are 3 versions of the game for you to choose from: the Standard Edition, the Gold Edition, and the Ultra Edition. The Standard Edition costs $70 and comes with the base game as well as a special pre-order bonus. The Gold Edition costs $100 and comes with everything in the Standard, as well as a Season Pass and 4-day early access. The Ultra Edition costs just $10 more than the Gold, and the only difference is the inclusion of the Ultramarines Champion Pack. Aliens, space, power armor, and lots of blood. That's everything you need to know about Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. For more on the game, including tips, guides, and our review, keep it locked to GameSpot.